Welcome to the Cool Tools Show. I'm Mark Frauenfelder, Editor-in-Chief of Cool Tools, a website of tool recommendations written by our readers. You can find us at cool-tools.org. I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Kelly, founder of Cool Tools. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, it's great to be here.
In each episode of the Cool Tools Show, Kevin and I talk to a guest about some of his or her favorite uncommon and uncommonly good tools they think others should know about. Our guest this week is Doug North. Doug is a maker best known for his mechanical wooden sculptures. He spent 5 years running an antique clock restoration business. These days, he enjoys outdoor bushcraft activities. He's the founder of Whiz Bang Projects, an online source for inspiring vintage project plans. Hey, Doug, welcome to the Cool Tools Show.
Hey, thank you very much.
I'm so glad to have you.
Yeah, we're so delighted that you're joining us, and we can't wait to hear of the cool tools you have in store for us.
I'm a tool addict, so I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Cool. So Doug, you have done writing for me, Make Magazine. I really love your projects. Created really cool, like wooden automata, stuff like that. So I'm sure you're going to have some cool tools. The first one is a Leatherman tool, one that I have not actually heard of. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So, recently with the pandemic and whatnot, I've been spending a lot of time outside and getting really into sort of bushcraft activities. Things where you learn how to use the resources around you to make things or make things easier, camping on the next level. Mm-hmm. And the Surge is a Leatherman product that they've really done right in a couple of fundamental ways. I don't know if you've ever used one of the originals, but using the pliers could be kind of a painful experience if you really bear down on the handle.
Yes.
So these are nice and thick. When you open up the handle, they've got these big rounded edges that are quite comfortable, even if you squeeze really hard. Overall, I should mention that the Surge is kind of it's kind of the big brother of a lot of the models that I think most people are more familiar with.
How big? When you say big, is it physically big? Is it like hefty, weighs a pound, or what do you mean by big?
Yeah, it's just a little oversized compared to the others. The length measures in at 4.5 inches. So it's probably a little too much for most people in terms of something they put in their pocket. But, it comes with a little belt sheath. If you're committed, you can put it in a pocket. But, it's just a little bit bigger than I think a lot of people would be comfortable with.
Okay. So it's a little bit bigger than pocket size. And it's a Leatherman. And for those who don't know, it's a tool that folds up into kind of a block of metal, basically, that you unfold in many different ways, including pliers and scissors. And this one it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife in the sense of it has all kinds of blades and things on it.
Exactly. And this one takes that aspect to a whole nother level because you can modify it. Uh-huh. So not only are the fundamental tools just done well, which is to say, 4 of the tools can be accessed without opening up the pliers. So typically on a Leatherman, you have to open up everything to get to the tools within. That's fine, except if you have to open it frequently, it gets a little tedious. So this has 4 tools on the outside, so you don't need to open up the pliers to get to them. And all of the tools on it lock so that they can't close on your fingers or anything like that. So, just in terms of like the basics, they've done really well.
Okay. And give some examples of these tools. I say the tools that you don't have to open for, or the tools that are inside.
Right.
Could you rattle them off?
Sure. So I think the way the Leatherman, sort of comes, mine's been highly modified. So, but the tools that typically that you wouldn't have to open it to access would be a nice pair of scissors, a plain knife blade, a serrated knife blade, and depending on what you've put in a certain special spot, a wood saw or a file/diamond sharpener.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So these would be the kind of the standard things, and then the idea that this is sort of more of a system that is going to allow you to modify or rearrange these peripherals or these tools, and so that you can customize it yourself.
Just so, and it does that in two ways. First, the easy way, but very innovative. They've got one of those tools on the outside it's really a tool holder that can accept any jigsaw blade with a T-shank base. This means you can go onto, Amazon or go to the hardware store and find any T-shanked based jigsaw blade, and that can go into your Leatherman. So this could be a metal cutting blade, a wood cutting blade, a carbide grit blade if you wanted to, try to saw through tile. It could be, anything that's out there. Or if you're feeling industrious, as I was, you can shape your own tool to that shape and insert it into this holder.
Okay. So what did you do with your remodel, your custom Surge?
Yeah. So it was a tough call because one of the default ones that comes in it is a file on one side and a diamond sharpener on the other. And this is very clever because this means that the knife can sharpen itself. That's really a cool idea. But I decided I know other ways to sharpen it. So I basically found a spade bit, a self-feeding spade bit, basically for a power drill or a drill press. And I modified the shank of that to fit within the T-holder so that I now have access to something that can bore very large holes, even though it's a very small tool.
And you bore it by rotating it by hand.
Yes, though I wouldn't do it. I don't do it very much with it in the tool. Typically what I do is find a crooked branch and then make my own sort of brace and bit. It takes about 10 minutes, but it turns it into a very effective boring tool in just a couple minutes.
Wow. Okay, cool. And so the Surge is $130-ish.
Yeah.
It's a pretty massive thing with, a dozen or more
right.
Parts. Actually, it's 20 or more pieces to it. So that's really cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll need a little carrier for it.
You will. The one last thing I should say about it is it's the tools are held in by rivets. Not rivets. I'm sorry. The last thing I should say about it is, it's a special bit. It's like a Torx, but it has a little bump or nubbin in the middle. So you'll need two of those bits. But once you have those, you can make your own bits, your own blades to put into the actual tool. And I've done that as well. I've made a modified file, and I've also stacked 3 hacksaw blades for one section.
Cool. That's really cool. Okay, great. That's a cool tool system.
It is.
I didn't know about the Leatherman Surge. Well, thanks. Okay, so what's another one on your list?
All right. Well, slightly less glamorous, but still useful, is a small shovel for camping, hiking, bushcrafting, keeping in the trunk of your car, that kind of thing. The one that I have and love is made by a company called Cold Steel. And allegedly it was designed for, the Russian special forces, because, it could be used for entrenching, I suppose. But sort of the unique feature about it is that it has 3 sharpened edges along the edges of the shovel blade. So it could also be used in some sort of military fashion.
Mm-hmm. You mean you could cut somebody with it?
You absolutely could. Not only that, but it's top heavy, so you can throw it. Now I've only done it twice just to see if I could. But it indeed does work that way. But that's not my primary interest in the tool.
Well, it's actually not a bad idea to actually properly use a shovel or prepare a shovel. It is sharpened. People don't realize that you actually would like to have a sharpened shovel digging into the earth. And so the fact that this is sort of a sharp blade is good thing, even for its uses as a shovel. It's made out of metal? Then it's not like a collapsible, foldable thing. It's
Right.
It's not really backpackable, I guess.
No, not. Well, yes and no. It is rigid. It has a hickory handle and a non-folding steel blade, or that is held to that handle with 2 Phillips head screws. So so that handle can be replaced in the field. You could make a long handle for it in the field. And it measures in at just about 20 inches. So that's not excessive for, say, strapping to the outside of even a fairly small backpack.
Yeah. But it's probably closer for like car camping or vehicle camping or something like that.
Yeah, it depends on how long you're going to be out there and how seriously you're taking things. Because what I found is that this absolutely can take the place of a hatchet. So for less weight than a hatchet, I get a hatchet and a shovel, and I found a few other uses for it. So it sort of just serves more purposes than any one of those tools.
Okay.
And it's pretty inexpensive too. I'm looking, it's $32.
Right? Yeah. It's $25, $30. That's without a sheath. And of course I think I'd recommend a sheath. But it is inexpensive. I'd say beware of knockoffs. There are better and worse versions of this out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like the idea of calling it kind of like a hatchet shovel.
Yeah.
Because that is a dual purpose is sort of interesting. Okay. So tell us about your third cool tool.
All right. So you might see a trend here. I like things that can do more than one thing. When you're camping or doing bushcraft, spending any time in the outdoors, one of the core things that most people have with them is some kind of rope, twine, cordage, something along those lines. A very popular one for good reason is 550 paracord. The cords that are used on parachutes. And one of the reasons that's so popular is, it's very strong. It's allegedly able to hold up 550 pounds, but it can also be taken apart because there are 7 strands inside. And then the sheath that's holding all those strands together can also be used independently. So depending on the situation, you could use the full cord, or you could use the sheath, or you could sort of take it apart and use the inner strands. This company called Titan has taken this idea to another level by putting very specialized inner strands inside of their paracord.
You say special, meaning to make it stronger?
Well, it does have that effect. So their paracord ends up being able to hold 620 pounds as opposed to the typical 550. But the special strands are monofilament fishing line, brass, thin gauge brass wire. They call it snare wire. And finally, a waxed jute cord, which is waterproof fire starting tinder.
Oh, okay. So I see where this is going. So you're carrying paracord, which you can use as paracord, tie things down, but you get stuck, you can make a fishing line out of it or a snare.
Yeah, exactly. Fishing line, a snare. The wire could be used for some, light electrical repair. There are medical uses for the fishing line. So basically you're without even, realizing it, you're carrying, some 3 extra very useful things along with your rope.
Wow. That is cool. Huh.
Yeah. They have another model out now that I have not tried that substitutes the brass wire for a Kevlar line. So it's extremely strong. But I don't have personal experience with that yet.
Right. Making it probably hard to cut. So this is called Survivor Cord, or that's their branding of it.
Right.
And it comes in some minimum amount. I don't know, 100 feet, whatever, 50 feet.
100 feet. I that's what I've seen for, about $35.
Okay. That's a really cool idea. I like that. Yeah, and paracord is, fairly lightweight and universal, just in useful backpacking, putting up tents, drapes, tarps, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you're industrious, you could make a woven bracelet out of this, and you'd have this, sort of multi-purpose survival item, just looking nice on your wrist.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's another cool one. So tell us about your fourth suggestion right now today.
Sure. This is by a company that I just love called Wazoo. And they sort of have this niche of survival gear, if I could call it that, but in sort of everyday clothing and in sort of very small micro format. And one of the products I just love is called their Cash Cap. So this is a baseball cap that looks like any other. And what makes it special is that it has 6 pockets within the bill and the crown of the hat.
That's cool. So they're pockets, basically.
Yeah, right. So there's there's 3 pockets on the bill. 2 are on the outer edges, and those are really designed for a product that they sell, though it doesn't have to be, a small folding ceramic knife and a ferrocerium rod, so that you can start a fire. And then there's a larger Velcro pocket on the bill, in which I have a slightly larger folding knife. If you want to hear they sell things to put in these hats if you want, but I made up my own kits. I'd love to tell you what I put in mine.
Yeah,
okay, please.
All right. So there's the crown has 3 pockets. One is right in the front where your forehead is. Inside of that one, I've placed a special kind of Ziploc bag called Whirl Pack that's designed to stand up straight when you fill it up with a liquid. And along with that bag, I've put in 3 water purification tablets. So if you're out and you get lost and you're suspicious about the quality of the water, you can get really sick. So with this baseball hat that looks like any other, I'm always prepared. In one of the side pockets, I have two side pockets in the crown of the hat. In one of them, I have some tin foil, a little, LED pinch flashlight, and a small length of folded up Gorilla Tape, which is essentially duct tape. So this is, I could see in the dark. I can, make a little platform for a fire or make a small cup. And I can repair things, including myself, with this duct tape.
That is really cool. And this is all fitting inside a baseball hat.
Yeah. It's just the best. The last little pouch, I've got 2 commercially made waterproof fire tinder bundles, 2 safety pins, a Band-Aid, and then a little packet of antibiotic ointment. So all of that, I've got a sort of a very minimal first aid kit and something to start a fire with, even if it's pouring rain. And all of this fits in a baseball hat, and this could be anything. If you're a runner, this could be your keys and your ID and the $20 you want to carry. Or if you're traveling, it could be a little stash for for safety's sake. As we know, women are not given the pockets that they deserve in a lot of their clothing. So this could be a small remedy,
right.
For that situation.
Yeah, exactly. There was also for a time, there was a movement among the ultralight backpackers, minimalists, of people who try to travel only with what they were wearing. And so they solved this problem by having a lot of pockets. Yes. And some of them were a little too many pockets, but this would fit right into that category of stuff that you were wearing and not putting on your back.
Right. There's a sort of an axiom in the bushcraft community and maybe the survival community. I'm not as interested in that, but it applies to both. And that is, this stuff is only useful if you have it with you.
Right.
And I wear a baseball hat outside no matter what. So this is really easy for me to have with me.
Yeah, that's the point. It's like the best camera is the one you carry with you, which is why we use our phones. And so if you have your survival gear and your baseball hat, you're a step forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, okay, cool. Huh. So that's called the Wazoo Cache, and cache, not like CHSH, but CACHE.
Yes.
Cache is hideout, something that's holding it for you.
Right. They make another version that has a Velcro area on the very front of the hat. So you could put a patch on it. And of course they sell a patch that has additional storage in it. Should you want to go that direction.
Right. And it's also for do-it-yourselfers, kind of an inspiring thing. You could certainly modify your favorite baseball hat with pockets and Velcro, which would be a cool idea.
Absolutely.
So thank you for those.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about
Whiz-Bang.
Whiz-Bang. Yes.
Yeah.
Great name, by the way.
Hey, thanks. It took a while to come up with that. I don't even want to mention my failed names. So as Mark knows, I've got this long-standing fascination with mechanical things and projects from the past, the kind of stuff you'd find in like, a 1920s copy of Popular Mechanics or something like that.
Like the old boys.
Yes.
What do they call that?
Boys Handy Book.
Yeah, Boys Handy Book. Yeah.
I just love that stuff. And I think other people do too. But upon, when you read some of those, they're pretty scant on, detail. And sometimes they include, materials that we simply can't get anymore or would be unwise to get. And so I thought, wouldn't it be nice to make these things available and then find a way to sort of translate them for a new age and perhaps give people, the level of support and detail that they need in order to complete these things. So I feel like I'm the kind of person who can read one of these and probably figure out, how to make something. But other people, I think, might look at it and say, well, where are the step-by-step instructions? And get a little bogged down. And so,
right.
So the idea of Whiz-Bang is to offer these vintage plans in various categories that sort of provides more or less in the way of instructions and help.
Cool. Yeah. I know what you mean, how scant these are. Sometimes they're just merely a sketch. And they also assume lots of things of knowledge that maybe boys had at that time that boys don't have today.
Yes, indeed. And as you're pointing out, they're assuming boys too. So
yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a lot of potential here for fun projects, and you should be able to do it even if you can't find barrel staves or if you can't go to the local druggist and get cyanide. Like it shouldn't stop you from being able to make something nifty with your hands, and maybe learn a little bit about history and science along the way.
I also think that a lot of those things in the project books, that people never really even made them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You do have to wonder. I mean, I'm thinking of a Popular Mechanics one in which you could use a motorcycle engine to make your own airplane.
Yeah, highly suspect.
It's about 3 pages worth of instructions.
Exactly. It's just like someone came up with a cool idea, and Popular Science and Popular Mechanics had amazingly great staff illustrators who could make anything look beautiful.
Yeah.
Their imaginations ran wild. But I do not think that they had a test lab where they actually put those things together.
No. And I mean, it's quite the industrious lad that would make his own airplane.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we learned at Make Magazine was we would get these plans from people, and we would recreate everything in a workshop just to make sure. And we would occasionally come across things where people would describe something that included an electronic component that just did not have the capability to do what they said it would do. Like the logic was missing from it, and it was just like they thought of it, but they never even made it. And so we were really careful about that kind of stuff.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. The kind of recipe checking. And that's, by the way, I cannot say enough about the kind of the world of the YouTube, but that's definitely what YouTube has been a cure for, is where you have people who, show their work, right? I mean, there may be people faking it on YouTube, but they're, it's so hard to fake that it's better that there's not much faking. People are either doing it and failing or not. And people learn as much from the failures as the successes.
Right.
Definitely.
So I see you have a YouTube channel as well, where you have sort of automatons and little, I don't know what the general term for those are, mechanical. Well, I guess automatons is the term.
Yeah, they're a contemporary form, So unlike the old ones, the very old ones, which were clockwork driven with metal springs, I've jumped on to the more contemporary version, which usually involves a hand crank that turns the mechanism and then animates a little scene on top.
Cool. That's really cool. Very, very nice.
Yeah. And in sort of more recent months and weeks, I've been trying my hand at more video editing and doing some outdoor projects that I try to show the steps in a sort of quick and entertaining way.
Cool. Very nice. So we'll include links there to those.
Wonderful.
We really enjoyed your suggestions here. And I liked your kind of dual use approach to things. That's always a high way to leverage your tools.
Agreed. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's really great.
Thank you so much. This was really fun talking with you, Doug.
Likewise.
Hey, everybody. It's your co-host, Mark, and I wanted to let you know that we have a lot more going on here in Cool Tools than just this podcast. We have our flagship website where we review a new tool every day. That's at cool-tools.org. We also have 4 different newsletters. We have this podcast. We have a YouTube channel where we review tools. And if you like what you hear and see and read, the best way to help us out is by going to our Patreon page at patreon.com/cooltools and donate at any level you wish. You can even contribute $1 a month, and that would mean a lot to us. The money that you give us will go towards paying for our transcribing costs, editing videos, and editing the podcast. It goes towards paying contributors who write the reviews for us. It goes towards our equipment costs, our hosting costs, and it supports our very small company of 3 people. This week, I wanted to give a shout out to some of our Patreon supporters who have been giving us at least $2 a month. And if you give us $2 a month, we'll give you a shout out online. And this week, I would like to thank Michael Sakochia, Molly Starr, M. Velderman, Opposable Thumbs, Pamela Cooley, Patrick Weyer, Paul Hosey, Randy Fisher, Stuart Burroughs Brand, Synaptic Sam, Therese Schwartz, Tom Hawkins, Tom Markham, What Bear, Javier Pangolin, David Lang, Eric Byers, Sean Hartley, Stephen Powell, Greg Lichtscheit, John Hobson, Adam Bristol, Adam Naher, Anonymous, Bill Kempthorne, Bruce I. Niles, Chris Woodruff, C. Kolos, Daryl Flynn, Egg Fleegoff, Eric Hanschrau, Eric Hoover, Godfrey Saldana, Jay Skiles, John M. Larson, Jude Galligan, Kenneth Gilman, and Lucas Frank. Thank you very much for supporting the show, and we will see you next week.